I need you more. I need you more.
Yes. Hello and welcome everyone to our Sunday hangs, or not Sunday, Thursday hangs, Thanksgiving Day hangs. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing really well. Want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the United States, or if you're celebrating around the world, and if not, it's a good holiday. It's a good idea, just a day to be thankful, a day to spend with friends and family, or even just by yourself. Just take a personal day for yourself, get your mind right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. It's all good. So, hopefully everybody's doing well out there. We got some people in the chat. Let me give some quick shout outs. Shout out to Self-Confessed Cynic and Galarian in Depth. You guys are awesome, and I love you guys. Jonathan Carroll says hello. Hello, Jonathan. Errant Dragon says happy holiday, and Errant Dragon's been posting some fire in the YouTube comments. So good to see that they are here as well. Darth Kenobi with a nice yo to you, Darth Kenobi. London Matthews asking for a PC shopping stream. I don't know if we're gonna get that. Michael, happy Thanksgiving. Boothby, happy Thanksgiving. Awesome to see it. Love to see it. It's Rick Sherman in the house, still holding down, by the way, the hype boss from last Tuesday's Quest for the Frozen Flame stream. Rick, big supporter of the channel, big supporter of the Quest for the Frozen Flame. Happy to have him here. Sparky, happy Turkey Day to you as well. Gobble Gobble, John Bonanza, glad to see you as here. Well, hey, Self-Confessed Cynic says gym night when? Also, happy Turkey Day. Damien has to go to work at 5:30 more. Well, Damien is in sales, and I imagine Black Friday is a big day for you, Damien. So that makes a lot of sense. Frostjack, I won't say that you're the reason for this stream, but I won't say that you're not the reason for this stream, Frostjack. So, so Vin, Self-Confessed Cynic. So gym night. For those of you who don't know what that's about, even if you're a member of the Patreon, you might not be a member of our health and fitness channel that is in the Discord. So long story short, I used to be in shape, and then, the last 4 or 5 years, I got out of shape. As you may have seen in various videos, put on weight. I think a lot of us have. And so I used to lift pretty heavily. I actually studied nutritional sciences, exercise sciences for a good long time. And so I bought an entire home gym just because getting out to the gym, the public gym, was always a challenge for me, just from a scheduling standpoint. Now, things are so crazy, and I just, I'm older now. I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to wait for some young punk to get off the machine. So I bought a whole home gym for myself, big, nice power rack, barbells, weights, just so I can get in there and get into the iron and try to restore some of my health. And of course, these crazy yahoos that are the members of the Knights of Last Call, Patreon said you should record that. So he's asking when that is going to happen. My plan is to begin assembling the rack this weekend. So I finally have some time. I have two main goals this weekend. Well, three, I guess. One is I need to run a Northern Reaches game for some high-level folks as to try to take out Helios the Hateful. That needs to happen because all three towers of the Desolation need to be taken out before the heroes of Northport can assault the Maw of Hell and try to close the interplanar portal before the end of the season. That assault on the Maw of Hell is scheduled, but the third tower still is up, and I am in charge of that. So I need to at least run the game to give the heroes a chance for that. So that's thing number one I have to do this weekend. You're going to notice a pattern here, by the way. Thing number two I need to do this weekend is I need to finish my Battlecry article. I of course wanted to create some sort of really awesome system, and I think I've gotten to a place where I'm pretty happy with it. but I wanted to rethink the way that recall knowledge could work in Pathfinder 2. So at least it's it's an attempt to try to fix it. I understand that, Battlecry is not about complete, it's not like it's super play tested, ready for public, ready for printing on demand, and millions of people are going to be playing with it. I think we only have like 40 or 50 patrons who even get the maybe it's like 70 patrons now who get the episode. But I want to make sure it's good. So as I've gone through the design process, I've sort of been pushing it back. But so that's the second thing I need to do. And then the third thing I need to do this weekend is assemble my rack, my power rack, get it assembled so that I can start getting into the routine. So 2023 is going to be a big year for me, for the channel, for my health, my mental health. So I'm really looking forward to that. So those are the big things that I'm trying to do this weekend. But the good news is, like, a lot of big projects are really going to be coming close here from Night's Last Call. So Tuesday is going to be our final Quest for the Frozen Flames game for, I guess you would call it season 1. Right, book 1, the adventure 1 is going to be completed. We're definitely going to be taking a break, at least
Lazarus
for the
Dark tip,
holiday
$10
season.
Anniversary tip. It was right about a year ago that I discovered Co-LC via Deadly Date's remix of the Co-LC 3 Action Economy video. Cheers and happy turkey.
Thank you, Lazarus Dark, for that generous tip. Thank you for the fun memory. It's funny that you found us via Deadly D8. Yeah, so that was like one of our first collabs where they took, Deadly D8 and their team took our 3 Action Economy video and really edited it down, and of course added a bunch of fun animations. Frostjack, that is going to depend entirely upon whether or not what I get done tomorrow. But I'd love to fit that in. I was actually talking to Bob about that on Wednesday. I said, I really want to run a low-level game, and I said I want to finish up my Circle of Thorns adventure. I want to run this mid-high-level game, which is Helios the Hateful. And then, of course, after the season concludes, me, Aaron, and Bob are all going to be running Triune for our very highest level people, somehow who allow level 20. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. Your first what? Collabs. Isn't that what I said? Collabs. It's a collab. Everyone says collab. Flint, great name. Happy Turkey Day. Actually, as I look at this now, collaboration. Anyways, I think in the next couple of days is actually our 2-year anniversary of Knights of Last Call's first video, which was Rise of the Rune Lords episode 1. Welcome to Sandpoint. And I think we released that end of November 2021 or 2020. Io Medea. Iomade. I don't think that's the right way to say it either, but that's how I want to start saying it now. Iomade. Anyways, Bill, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours as well. No, I understand you're not trying to put pressure on me. I just want to, I want to get as many games run as I possibly can. So, did they ever kill the white dragon? So Rick, no. After 12 hours of playing with over 30 PCs, approximately, I think 12 to 15 PCs died. Several, I think 4 or 5 PCs actually lost all of their lives in Northern Reaches. So those characters were permanently killed. And to be fair, people knew what they were getting into, but it's the end of the season. It's a Ben adventure. I think people were emotionally prepared for that, mentally prepared for that. And the dragon was in bad shape, but not out yet. Now, the players felt pretty confident that given another couple turns, they might have been able to take her out. But I think everybody agreed that, it was supposed to go for 8 hours. So it went for like 12. And they thought it was going to take another 3 or 4 hours. So everybody kind of agreed that it was a draw, but with the understanding that, the dragon didn't really win. It got away. So, we're going to take that and sort of when we think about how we want to push Northern Reaches into season 2, I mean, that's going to be a big part of it. So Valix she was not able to complete her goals. So, and it was really awesome. And it was a kind of a great experience for everybody. And I don't know if it was a great idea. I mean, Ben certainly put together a hell of a session with a ton of work into it. But, I think running any sort of 30-person game is going to be crazy no matter what. And, I think a lot of people feel like, wow, that was rough, but I'm so glad I was there. And that totally makes sense to me. There's been several things in my life where I remember going when the Cavs won the 2016 NBA championship. I remember going to the celebration parade, and it was the biggest nightmare of my whole life. I would never do it again. So glad I went. Edward, what brand of rack did you buy? Well, Edward, I really went back and forth between Rogue and Rep. Rogue is actually based out of Columbus, which is 2 hours south of here. And I understand it's 100% United States made. Rep is an American company, but a lot of their steel and stuff is made in Taiwan. And ultimately, the value for my money was just so much better with the Rep. So I ended up picking up a Rep PR4000 bench. It's a 3x3 steel, 11-gauge steel bench, sort of the square steel stock. It's a 6-post rack. I got one of their Rep, I think it's like the AB4000. I got an Ohio Power Bar from Rogue. I got some barbell plates cheap. I'll eventually get something better, like something with some sort of urethane coating or something like that. But I just wanted some cheap iron to throw on the barbell. Yeah, and I got a landmine attachment, some pull-up bars and stuff like that. But one of the main reasons I got that is because they, Rep, that is the company, just released this new thing this year called the Aries. It's basically a functional trainer. It's a pulley trainer that integrates into your power rack, not just as a separate standalone thing. And I love the idea. I love cable work. Especially me, bigger guy, when I was running and stuff, I could easily do pull-ups. And if I wanted to do a lot of hypertrophy, I could put a band on and I could do a lot of pull-ups. But I'm not doing a pull-up right now with my fat ass. So, doing lat pull-downs off a pulley, off of cable work is just beautiful for me. So I do really want to look into upgrading my rack as soon as possible with that weight stack functional trainer upgrade. So that was the real selling point, not just the price and the value, but the ability to upgrade to that Aries functional trainer / lat pull down. So yeah, good stuff. The pattern was, these are all things that he's needed to do for a while. Self-confessed cynic. Ding, ding, ding. Give that man a cheroot. Yes, that's correct. I love this. I love the channel. I love, wanting to get into shape, but man, like when real life comes in and suddenly you find yourself busy at work, and then before you know it, you're running around doing errands and chores, taking care of your dogs. And then it's like, 9, 10 o'clock and you're like, oh, I just don't have it in me. I just want to go to bed. So it's tough. I mean, I turned 40 just a few months ago and it's like, I already feel it. So rough. What if you do first come, first serve shots for Hero Tier patrons to playtest BC stuff? John, I mean, I don't think we've created anything so detailed yet that we would call it playtesting. But I think if we did create something that was like truly a fully functional system, or like monsters or something like that, I would absolutely have the heroes get first crack at it and beat it up and tell us what they think about it and play back on it. In fact, John, one thing that people have asked about is, Battle Cry. And we kind of came out with it. We released an issue back to back 2 months. And, certainly we hoped we could continue to produce an issue a month. But the fact of the matter is, it's a lot of work. I mean, we're not publishers, it's just like when I first started making YouTube videos. I didn't know anything about Premiere Pro. We don't know anything about InDesign. It takes us a long time to put these magazines together. And so, I think going into 2023, we're going to try to aim for an episode every other month. Additionally, we want to work with some of our most interested in, most creative, most prolific designers in our own community space and have them write articles for us. But the fact of the matter is that's going to require a lot of back and forth. Deadlines are going to be kind of structured. There's probably going to need to be some editing or updates, and to try to do all of that in just a few weeks and then still have another week or two to get the editing done so that it can be live on a monthly basis. We were like, there's no way we're going to be able to do all that with the additional, elements of other people submitting articles and still get it out every week. So I don't know. Maybe there's a world where we eventually do go weekly, monthly on that. But I mean, case in point, Dragon Magazine was monthly, and that was a literal team of 9 people whose full-time job was editing and producing for Dragon Magazine. They didn't write for Dragon Magazine. Dragon Magazine took articles in from people's submissions, and they produced an issue a month. So we're definitely trying to work on that for Battlecry. But I mean, that's one of the elements of the channel that I'm the most excited about, and certainly just need to sort of get our heads around and wrap our heads around. I saw that there was a super chat, Vin. I'm going to get to that in a second. I'll get to it right now here. I thought you were going to say, and next thing you know, it's effing November. Feel that pain right now. Yeah, I mean, again, I will accept all the blame for this. I have been like, in my mind, it was like, oh yeah, last month we were like, oh, let's do a Root game. We'll rebuild this. We'll rebuild the studio really quick. We'll make it really cool and make it fun to be in and exciting and have a lot of punch and pizzazz, and it'll be a lot of fun. And we're like, yeah, we'll get that done, and then we'll start the Root game in August. And then I was like, oh well, we missed that by a month. No, wait, that would have been September. Okay, yeah, we're 3 months behind. So it's like, holy crap, what happened? It was Thanksgiving today. It's going to be Christmas in a month. I don't even know, what's happening. I'll be honest with you. This channel, plus being busy at work, has just made time just super fly by. It's pretty crazy. So I definitely feel that. We just need to find a video. Even if James Jacobs sends it to me, I'm still going to say it wrong. I'm putting on Gym Night pressure. I can't believe I lasted 12 hours only to die on the very last turn. As a level 6, that's pretty impressive, actually. Salvore, happy Turkey Day to you, my friend, as well. As a wise penguin once said regarding the raid. All right, that was awesome. Now let's never do it again. Love it. Random thought from Mr. Damian Williams. The Lost Omens Travel Guide is such a stupid fucking book. I love it. It's more useful in your kitchen than it is at your game table. Random thought. Now, I will say this. On my shelf behind me, I do not have Legends. I don't have... I have Mwangi. I'm missing like 5 or 6 of the Lost Omens books, but I have the travel guide. I actually do own the travel guide. I bought it with my own money. All right, I don't know where it is, but it's back there. Because I was like, I want to read this. It's fun. I mean, there are times when... Here's the thing. I read something like that and I go, this is utterly useless. It has no bearing on a game whatsoever. But, sometimes it's fun. Cheers, Cybersmith. Cheers. Frostjack, how tall are you, Derek? 6'1" and a quarter or half. But I'm definitely not 6'2". I'm solid 6'1". We'll call it that one. Edward approves of me buying from Rep. Yeah, I bought the PR4000. Great. I wanted to go to the PR5000, but it's a lot more money. It's the same gauge steel. It's the same type. It just has those 1-inch holes, and it has the standard 1-inch spacing. I kind of like the West Side Barbell spacing. So I went with the PR4000, and I don't regret it at all. Hey, Kaz. Thanks for the well wishes. I responded to you in our chat. I don't know if you saw that, but Flint says wait till you're 54. Dude, it's it's the unfortunate. That's the thing. I think we can all agree to this, right? Like the thing that being older is great. You know about yourself. you know how the world works. You're usually, wiser. You got your shit kind of together. But man, it's like, when you're 10, 1 year was 10% of your life. And so 1 year was this massive amount of time. Cut to your 40 or your 50, and suddenly 1 year, is just a couple of percentage points. And it's just like, you just dole them out like they're candy. And it's just so quick how quickly the time starts to just go by past you. It's just, makes me really want to double down. And, I think it's important to try new things and get involved in new things, even at an older age. I mean, I never thought I would be doing this, and yet here I am. So it's kind of fun. You can't say 2023 so casually like that. I'm not ready for it. Yeah, none of us are. Bernardo, hey dude, any good RPG Black Friday deals? I saw one. Seagate. I mean, this is just totally randomly, but there is a group. I think they're called Seagate. See something gate. Oh, let me pull it up here. I gotta find it. They're called Seagate Battle Maps, I think they make. And or something like that. Seafoot. Maybe somebody else knows this. Seafoot Games. They make D&D battle mats. Seafoot Games. Hey, Damien, thank you. They have like this incredible Black Friday deal where you can get like hundreds of battle mats for like 20 or 30 bucks or something. Seems like an incredible deal. I'm sure if you find it on Instagram, I don't remember the code. It might have been Black Friday 22 or Black 22 Friday or something. But it just seemed like an incredible deal if you do anything with VTTs. And I've used some of their maps in the past. I've bought them individually off of Drive-Thru RPG. I was really impressed with that. Seafoot. Okay, Seagate's the hard drive company. Okay. But other than that, I wasn't really looking, Bernardo. I've got a backlog of RPGs that I need to read through. I've got so much RPGs that I need to read through. It's just crazy. And now because of interest in the community, because of damn Aaron and his love of fourth edition, now I find myself reading through old fourth edition D&D books again, and it's like, that's me going backwards. It's me going backwards. I need to go forward. Austin made it to the end of the Valex raid, only managed to take 13 damage. Other people died instantly. Austin only took 13 damage. Golden Monkey, they say learning new things makes time fly slower. Well, Golden Monkey, I'm going to try to embrace that as much as I can. So, Drive-Thru RPG has some specials. I bet they do. I mean, most people are going to do some sort of special for you. Okay, Damien's a Seafoot Games patron. Yeah, I like their maps. Just a humble bundle. I feel like they do humble bundles all the time. What was the last cool thing you imported into your game from another edition of D&D, Pathfinder, etc.? Well, I don't know if everybody has watched our Quest for the Frozen Flames actual play game, but there's the first part of the adventure is sort of this hex overland movement thing, and I actually took the resource management sub game from a board game version of Battlestar Galactica, and I put that in there, and that's been really popular. Obviously, I have to make some tweaks, but a lot of people said that was really fun and added a lot of interesting dimensions. Now, that's not exactly D&D or Pathfinder, etc., like that, but I would say that things that I've inputted into my game from other editions that I think could even go into a Pathfinder game, like let's just bring it into Pathfinder 2. So 13th Age has this idea of something called an escalation die. And when we played at the table, it was literally a big D6. I don't even know if I have it around here. But, it's like one of those oversized D6. And we would just set it down in the table. And what would happen is at the end of every round, the escalation die ticks up by 1. and the PCs get to add that to their attack rolls. And part of the reason for this is, I don't want to get, it's supposed to be a hangout, not like a RPG theory stream, but like RPGs have a problem where what you want to happen in a combat from a gameplay experience standpoint is you want the combat to start off, okay, at like, you know, a good level of tension. And you want it to build, right? You want it to build as the combat goes on, right? You want this feeling of things getting more and more and more and more intense. And then you reach this peak, this climax, and the tension starts to drop. But you want the tension to drop pretty quickly because, you know, the slow buildup is fun, but then the slow decline is not as interesting, right? And we know what that looks like, by the way. The slow decline of tension in an RPG, a combat encounter, is when you're fighting, you know, 3 monsters and and there's this one critical round and like 1 monster goes down and 2 monsters go down, but there's still 1 monster left and it's at full hit points. You haven't even touched it because you've been focus firing. And you understand mathematically you've won. Like the game is over. Like there's no, like the 3 monsters honestly weren't going to kill you all, but you know, you could at least maybe imagine a world where they could be dangerous. But now that it's literally 1v4, you understand that, yeah, this thing might, I don't know, crit me and do like a bunch of damage, but it's not going to take me out. So it's like this kind of, but it's not like it's not a threat at all. It's a reasonable monster. And it would just, you want that sort of, it kind of dies off real slowly. And you look around the table and it's that kind of like, okay, we're just beating this thing into oblivion. Interestingly, old versions of D&D had, and this is something I definitely crib from older versions of D&D all the time, is had morale rules. And morale rules not only served for a simulationist standpoint, aka intelligent creatures or animalistic creatures tend to just run away if the combats don't go against them, right? If a pack of wolves attacks and they don't kill anybody right away, they tend to just run away. Once one of them gets hit or burned or something like that, or they just scamper off into the woods. And most armed people, unless they are like religious zealots or literally fighting for their very livelihoods and their families, most normal intelligent denizens are going to fight reasonably, and then once the combat turns against them, or once one of their friends or allies goes down and they see that, they just run away or they surrender. And that has the net effect that as soon as the combat tension has peaked and the PCs have sort of turned the corner, the combat tends to kind of just wrap up immediately instead of having to like grind it out. But the other reason, going back to the escalation die, the other reason for the escalation die, I think already got talked about, is PCs have a problem. This makes total game sense. And if you're even in a simulationist sense, why wouldn't you pull out your biggest guns first, right? R.I.P. Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, the White Ranger. But if you ever watched Power Rangers as a kid, or Voltron, if you're a little bit older, it always followed the same routine, right? Like they would fight it as people, and then it wouldn't be enough, and so then they would call in the Zords, and the Zords wouldn't be enough, and then they would form the Megazord, and then they'd fight the big monster, and that wouldn't be enough, and then they'd pull out the Megazord, and then they would like slash it in one hit and kill it. And you go to yourself, why wouldn't they just go into the Megazord right away, pull out the Megazord right away, and just kill this thing immediately? And that's true. It wouldn't make for a good show, but that is what players do in PC games or in tabletop role-playing games. That's what they have their PCs do. They say, what's my best spell? What's my most devastating attack? I want to fire that off ASAP round 1 because I want to be able to kill these things as quickly as possible. If I want to debilitate them or debuff them, I want to do that as soon as possible. It's silly for me to wait to drop my big bomb at the end of the fight instead of the very first round of the fight. And that means kinda the most exciting and dynamic and dramatic rounds are the first one, because that's when everybody drops their coolest power. By definition, the rest of the fight is kind of a letdown. Now, Galarian in Depth mentions the PF2 Psychic. Yeah, Paizo understands this problem. And so they had to introduce what is essentially a very gamist mechanic. And that gamist mechanic means it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I know Pathfinder 2 tries to apologize and tries to like make it sound like it makes sense in the world, but we all know that it's kind of just fluffy bullshit. It's a game problem, and they want the psychic to be interesting, and they don't want the psychic to be doing their big cool thing right from the start. But the problem with the psychic is every other class in Pathfinder 2 is doing their big cool thing right from the start. So the way escalation dice worked in 13th Age was that the math of the game was tweaked a little bit. Okay, so imagine you're playing Pathfinder 2, and there's a big D6, and you add that D6 value to your attack rolls and to your spell DCs. Okay? But take your base Pathfinder 2 math and give everybody +2 to their AC and +2 to their saves. All right? Now, when the fight starts, and the monsters, you give the monsters, the foes, +2 to their ACs, or maybe like +1, +1.5 to their ACs and to their saves. What this means is on the first round of the fight, when that escalation value is at 0, you are actually disadvantaged. The enemies are stronger than you. And if they were to stay at that level, they might get the best of you. But it means that if you're going to pull out your biggest spell and your best ability right now, you don't do it because you are at a penalty to hit. You're at a penalty to actually land your spell. So you wait. You maybe do a little bit of debuffing. You do some minor attacks, things that aren't going to eat up your limited resources. Then, on turn 1 or 2, the escalation die is now +1 or +2. Now you're on even footing. Now you can maybe start to think about it. You wait till round 3 or 4, and now the escalation die is at +4, and now you have this advantage. And now you can drop your biggest, baddest attack or your biggest, baddest spell because they are more likely to fail, they're more likely to hit, they're more likely to be crit. And that way the fight sort of follows this natural, this curve where we start off at a moderate amount of tension. We build up slowly, feeding that tension. And then we reach this critical turn, this ultimate tension turn where the players pull out all the big guns, drop massive hits and crits, and everything goes to shit. And then boom, then the tension falls off really, really quickly. Now, that being said, I think Michael has a great point. One reason not to use your best weapon immediately is if it's limited. In real life, you may only have one bomb and you don't know if you will need it in the next battle, which is not relevant to Pathfinder 2. Ding, 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 ding. Michael is absolutely correct. I hate to say it, but 13th Age, this game that the escalation die mechanic comes from, was designed by the people who designed 3rd edition D&D, Jonathan Tweet, and the person who designed 4th edition D&D, Rob Heinso. And it uses a series of limited powers, whether they're daily or encounter-based. There is this problem in Pathfinder 2 where if you have something that is particularly powerful and useful, maybe your character really does well with power attack. They're built to do that. I know a lot of people poo-poo on power attack. I don't think it's the worst feat in the world game, especially if you got a big honking weapon. Or you're using hunted shot, or you're using dual slice if you're a fighter. You're going to do that on round 1 and round 3 and round 7. There's really no reason for it. It's your best option, and you're going to do it a lot. And most of these really competitive options tend to take up 2 actions. So you are right, Michael, that it does create a problem where it's not necessarily going to change the tactics in Pathfinder 2 because there aren't limited resources as such. But because of the math of Pathfinder 2, if the players are missing more often, or at least not critting as often in the beginning of the fight, but they start to hit more often and crit more often as the fight goes on, it will at least, I think, give a sense of that feeling and that progression. I also think there's a strong psychological benefit as a player. I've experienced this as a player. I don't know about you all, but there's a feeling sometimes when you're fighting something that's really tough in RPGs. You feel a little almost nihilistic, right? You feel almost desperate, and you don't feel like a hero. I think we've been programmed through media to feel like the longer the fight goes, the more likely it is that the heroes are going to win. All of our media examples of heroes are always, almost always, they are fighting a villain or a foe which outmatches them in every possible way. So we know that in real life, they should just be dead right away. But what the hero has is grit and tenacity and resilience, and they persevere, they stick it out, and they fight, they claw their way through it. And then, as the fight gets to the end, but in a real fight, by the way, by the end of it, your character wouldn't be better, they would be worse. They've been getting their ass beat for, 5 rounds or whatever, of combat. But, Rocky or John McClane or whoever your pick, take your pick. Captain America, Steve Rogers, right? They somehow are better at the end than they are at the beginning of the fight, even though they've been getting their ass beat. Doesn't make any sense. And so I think having the characters, like if you're in round 1 and you're just like, man, we can't hit this thing and it's just so tough. But if you, in the back of your mind, you go, but if we can just hold out and we can just persevere, and that escalation die can keep ticking up. By round 4 or 5, that thing's going to be at like +3, +4, +5, and we are just going to crush this thing. We just need to hold strong, hold together. We've got this team. Let's find our heroic, motivation, and let's show them the power of friendship, and we'll overcome. I think that resonates with a lot of people. Is this a very narrative concept? Yes, absolutely, but I think it works. All right, sorry about that. Works even easier by having the bonus equal 1/2 the dice value. I don't know what you mean by that, self-confessed cynic. Bonus equals half the dice's value. Damien talking about Sentinel RPG. I have to imagine that any sort of comics RPG is going to do this really, really well. Heroes have green, yellow, and red abilities. The red abilities are locked off until the scene is in the red. Got it. Right. Human Torch doesn't go Nova unless the scene demands it. He just doesn't. Otherwise, he would just go Nova every fight, right? It just doesn't make sense. Again, a very narrativist mechanic, but it works especially well for comics. I did see one of my players use a high-level AoE spell on a bunch of bats because he thought they were vampires. I mean, that's true. You buff power attack a little bit, but that was enough to make your players love it. How did you buff power attack, Vin? Oh, Frostjack already asked the question, and Vin already answered. See, I'm behind in chat. You guys are just lucky here. So what did you do? You added a slight additional static damage bonus, small on paper, +4 scaling to +12 or something, but it's enough to make it a great. I think that's it. I think Pathfinder 2 doesn't need big tweaks in many instances. I think you can push it. And sometimes you have stories where the character is visibly weaker, but somehow beats the bad guy anyways. Yeah, Frostjack. And there are game systems that do this really well as well. And those tend to be like comic book or Fate systems where characters can build up a stack of like meta currency, kind of like hero points. I mean, I guess a way to think about it would be, imagine a player going into a fight with that, big boss that outclasses them significantly. But imagine like they had 7 hero points in Pathfinder 2. And you're like, oh, wow, okay, we're really going to have a chance here because I'm just going to be re-rolling everything. Oh, make a save. I failed, re-roll, passed it. Oh, I attacked, I missed, re-roll it. Oh, hit. Oh, I missed, re-roll it, crit, And so the hero points sort of represent, on paper, your character is the weaker character, but the hero points allow you to sort of meet or beat the villain, and the hero points should represent, the character drawing upon that source of strength, that deep reservoir of grit, determination, doggedness, that sort of defines what we think of as a hero. Take care, Sparky. Escalation die in Pathfinder 2nd Edition +/-6 breaks things. Oh, but +3 - you're saying that 6 would break the game. I gotcha. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Kaz giving us an example from Warhammer 40K. By the way, thanks to the patrons as well as Mr. Kaz, Bob will most certainly be getting a divorce next year because they got him into Warhammer 40K. And as we all know, that is one of the most expensive hobbies of all time. And I'm sure his wife will greatly appreciate that. Just got home, Joe, from eating way too much. Me too, buddy. What are we talking about? We're talking about mechanics from other D20 games that could work in Pathfinder 2. And we're talking specifically about the escalation die. Epic answer. Thanks, Flint. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Look at Endgame. Everyone should have died facing Thanos. Exactly. And yet, right? I mean, for your money, Flint, for me, it doesn't get any better. Like, if you think about Pathfinder 2 terms, okay, Captain America is like a shield fighter, he's like an unarmed combat specialist with a shield. Maybe you make him a champion because he's so good and whatever, and he's defending people. But in that final scene, he's basically unconscious / beat up to dead. His shield broke. He blocked with it against the Thanos crit, and he broke it, exceeded the break threshold. So in Pathfinder 2 terms, you'd be like, well, your whole build just fell apart. You can't even do any of the things because your shield is now broken. And you would just say you are about to be the most ineffective character that you could possibly be. And yet, it's time for him to shine. And that's where it's always just so fun. It's just so fun. Yeah, Bernardo, rip Bob's wallet. That's why rip the marriage, right? I mean, Bob's going to have to, one day, the credit card bill is going to come in, and it's going to say $1,500, and, she's going to suspect hookers or blow, and, it's going to be worse. It's going to be plastic crack. So, clocks is the answer. I mean, clocks are good. Clocks are a pacing mechanism. Clocks are a tension mechanism. Clocks, I think, should be and could be used in every game system. I mean, to be fair, the question was specifically, what have you taken from other versions of D&D and brought into Pathfinder 2? I did not take clocks from D&D. I took clocks from Blades in the Dark. But I think the thing that I think is really important to understand about clocks, and I think this is something that I think maybe some people miss. When I say a clock, I'm talking about you write something down that is going to happen. The orcs attack. The chieftain breaks the truce. The king marries off his son, right? And you put it, and you write down, this is what's going to happen if this clock fills out. And you put in, you take a circle, you quarter it, or you divide it into sixths or eighths or tenths. And the idea is that the world or the events around the PCs are going to fill that clock up. And here's the key for me is I write it on an index card or I put it into my Foundry and you make it visible. You want the players to see that clock. If it's just some sort of back information for you, I think it loses almost all of its punch. The idea of the clock is, it's like when you're playing a video game And, there's no way that your character knows that they're about to get into a fight, but the player knows because the music changed. It's setting you up for that mentality. It's just a sort of a perceptive shift that the players understand very visibly. There are things happening around us. Our actions, our inactions, our successes, our failures all matter from this point out. And the best way to do this is to start with one clock and add a second and add a third and add a fourth. And I don't know if there's some maximum number. I would probably say if you have more than 6 or 7, you're starting to get a little bit ridiculous. But you want the players to feel like the more clocks that are active, the more the players are going to feel like your world is a living, breathing thing where their actions are going to push and pull and shape the world around them. There are going to be things happening, and they are going to realize we have to choose. We can't solve all of these problems. We are very powerful, but we are not gods. And I think that is important because that is allowing the players to show you, the game master, but it's also showing each other, showing the combined narrative that you're creating. What do we care about? What do I care about? Maybe my character, me, Derek, I care about this clock, and maybe my character would care about this clock. And I'm going to petition, and I am going to fight that we should go deal with this threat. But maybe the other PCs don't agree with me. And maybe that tension, that disagreement, Heroes, we've been talking about the Avengers a lot. They made a whole movie about how the Avengers disagreed on something, split apart, and then had a big civil war. Heroes don't always get along. And I think your stories and your narratives become much more compelling and much more realistic and much more narratively, satisfying when you have some of that internal struggle, internal structure. We can't do everything. We can't be everywhere. What do we care about? And then you give the players the tools to go aggressively deal with these threats. If I put down 7 clocks and it's like 3 sessions later, the players are like, all dealt with, you've missed the point. The clocks are not, they're not monsters in a moderate or a severe encounter. They're not just there to be something that the players can just feel like they're in danger of it happening, but it's not actually going to happen. Don't put it on a clock unless you are 100% committed to that thing happening. If you if you don't want to write on the clock, the town is destroyed, everyone is killed, because you don't want that to happen, that's fine. Don't put that on the clock then. But if you write it down on a clock and you put it out there, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your players to be willing to flip that switch, okay? And deliver on the threat of that promise and do what honesty says. And be a fan of the PCs, but also fill their lives with danger and excitement and gravitas. You're going to get a better response out of your players. I promise you. It's incredible. You may like the D20 system. You may like the way that Pathfinder 2 handles the D20 system. That is fine. But that doesn't mean that the way that you structure your games couldn't use some improvement. And I think this is one area where I think a lot of games get a lot better. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant. Damien can't get into Warhammer. They lose their apartment. Yes, you would. It's tough. What about the wounds rule from Star Wars D20? That's your con is like this backup bank of hit points, and they attack your hit points, which are like not your con, and then critical hits go straight to your hit points. Am I remembering that right? Before Kingmaker's second edition released, I made organizations and factions statted out like characters with dice rolls in the background for faction conflict. This was taken from Fate's Bronze Rule. Yeah. One of the strengths of Fate, John, which we can talk about on an upcoming Fate stream. I think building organizations in Fate, because they kind of fundamentally use the same rules as characters, they're just representing different things makes that kind of play really, really great. Plus, aspects are a fantastic way to handle and model organizations, and I love it. Star Wars Saga Edition was very, very good, and it was Star Wars Saga Edition was sort of a precursor to 4th edition. When I decided to play war games, I bought a resin 3D printer and got into one-page rules. Still burns money, but far less. Yeah, I mean, 3D printing definitely seems to be the way to go to it, but I know that the big companies are definitely trying to crack down on that. I know GW is. Really, Vin, you don't use clocks the way that they were intended? How do you use them? Oh, it's an all-encompassing tool that's used sometimes for tracking progress rather than a specific outcome. Yes, I didn't know that Strat believed that clocks should be hidden, but 100%. In fact, I don't recommend doing this often, but, you know, I think that you can get a lot of mileage about putting a clock out and you put at the bottom of it, question mark, question mark, question mark, and it's got 10 ticks and it's, you know, 2 ticks are clocked already or ticked already. That may seem stupid, but just alerting the players there is something at work in the background and you don't know what it is yet can be remarkably effective. It can drive them to investigate. Yes, investigate, the thing that I don't like to do in role-playing games. But as long as you make it interesting, I suppose, if that's what your players are into, they might say, can we start figuring out what that is? And you say, yes, you can. I want my players to be running the game. Don't you? I don't understand. Ugh. God help us. I want my players to be the active protagonists in my game. I don't want them to be reacting. I don't. Hero, like, you want them to be the ones who are taking charge and being leaders. I mean, this game is half about being a power fantasy. And being able to be a driven, action-oriented person. I understand there's probably, their desire to be the reluctant hero, but the reluctant hero is fine for level 1, right? Or level 2, 3, the character who's thrust. If we use Joseph Campbell's monomyth and we talk about the hero's journey, that's great. That's fantastic. But, hero's journey people don't go to level 20. Hero's journey people don't want to be a hero. Greatness is destiny is thrust upon them, and they ascend to greatness, and then they return home because they never wanted that to begin with. And that's fantastic if you want to do like a quick, short 3 to 6 session game and just wrap it up. But the real heroes that we are trying to emulate that go the distance, they are driven. The Tony Starks, the Steve Rogers, the Thors, right? They are at their heart proactive, and they are trying to do something. They see something happening, and they know that they have the responsibility, right? With great power comes great responsibility to do something about it. And they want to be the ones who are active and pushing the narrative. One of the reasons why Infinity War felt so reversed, and I thought it was brilliant, is because the Avengers were on the receiving end. That was Thanos' movie. He was the one doing all the plans. And the Avengers found themselves just trying to, struggle to keep up and react and put out fires. And so it gave you this sense of desperation. Well, that's how most adventures and APs are structured. The PCs are never the ones making the decisions. They're never the ones with information. They're never the ones leading the charge. They're just reacting to the bad guy's plan. And that's Infinity War. And that's why that whole movie feels kind of desperate, and it feels like Thanos' movie. And so when the heroes lose at the end, it doesn't feel wrong because you were like, oh, this was never their movie. Endgame completely switches that around, right? That is the heroes taking the initiative. That's the heroes being proactive. So it feels like the big damn hero movie, which it is. So yeah, good stuff. Question from Boothby. Do you run clocks with the players having meta knowledge of what is coming, similar to bad guys cutscenes that players aren't present for? Boothby, I think that's absolutely fine. I think that's totally fine. I love to do that. I mean, when I play Blades in the Dark, I remember the gang had fallout or heat from one of their missions, and a rival gang sort of became aware of their activities. And I made a clock which showed that this rival gang was starting to figure out that the person who'd been stealing from them was them. And I kind of showed like a quick cutscene where I was like, kind of like the leaders of that gang starting to get suspicious and, telling his men, put some extra eyes on that group. We need to see what they're up to. We can't just let, we thought they were nobody, but maybe we were wrong. Put a little pressure on them. And I let, the PCs would never have seen that scene. But the audience would. And again, I like to sometimes treat my players as the actors in the movie, but I also sometimes like to treat them as the authors. And sometimes I like to treat them as the audience. And I think that's okay as well. And they get to know something that maybe their characters don't know. I think that's fine. Can't wait to skip the Fate stream. Whole afternoon just freed up. Yeah, that sounds about right. Fate is probably the lowest simulationist game that's still mainstream and popular. So that makes total sense to me that it would never be a game that you would really, really like. Well, the other thing, Lampley, I think Lampley makes a great point here. It's hard to tell a fun story together when only one person knows what the pace of the story is or what the point of the story is. What? I love my friends, and maybe you're playing with people who aren't your close personal friends, but if you've spent time with them, you've probably gotten to know them. Ideally, you hopefully like them or appreciate them. Why bear that burden all on your own, right? Like let your players be part of the fun. I think that's totally reasonable. That doesn't mean you have to tell them everything, but whet their appetite a little bit. I think it's a great idea. Does flipping that work? Like putting the question mark on the ticks rather than the endpoint? No, I don't think it does, FrostJack. Because I want the players to make informed decisions, and I want them to be able to know, how full or empty is their gas tank. And they may not know what happens when it gets to empty, but they're probably pretty sure it's bad. But they at least need to be able to know how much time do we have left? How much pressure should we really have from this? So I feel like that would probably have the opposite effect. So I'm going to go with there. Frodo picking the One Ring back up in Elftown. Lampley, fantastic idea. I mean, even Frodo's decision, right, in Rivendell. Yeah. It is a great example. He thought his job was done. That Frodo, the reluctant hero, was Frodo being tasked to take the ring to Rivendell. And he did it. And he got his level 3, and he could have gone back to his Shire. But by deciding to pick up the ring and take it to Mordor, right, that's him showing action. And then Frodo, they're attacked. He goes, Boromir betrays him. Well, doesn't betray him, but he's corrupted. Frodo makes the decision. I need to leave. I need to leave the Fellowship because I need to do this on my own. It's going to corrupt everyone. I can't trust anyone. I'm doing this on my own. So again, him making that decision. And that's what makes it so powerful. You've heard about Blades in the Dark, ready for Guns in the Light. When is the Fate stream? Well, Bernardo, I think we were talking about having it possibly this from tomorrow originally, but we kind of forgot that it's Thanksgiving and we're going to be really busy and with family and
Edward
friends
P.
in town.
$3. Any plans in the future to stream a homebrew campaign instead of an AP?
Yeah,
I'd really like to see how you run a sandbox game.
Edward, we'll talk.
Especially if you talked about your prep.
Edward, we'll talk about that in a second. I'll get down to you in a second. I do want to talk about that. That's pretty cool. So, but yeah, the stream is soon, and I'm going to be joined by John who's going to join us, and John is a big Fate fan, and John actually donated some Fate books to the Knights of Last Call to give away as prizes. So whenever we do that Fate stream, we're also going to be giving away some copies of the Fate system reference book. We're going to be giving away Fate core book. So, and I decided to probably to match what John gave. So I'm actually going to be giving away 2 Fate core books, the main rule set. So should be a lot of fun. See, look at you, self-confessed cynic. You're just so alone here. Damien, Fate is great. Bernardo, Fate is my favorite system ever. Frostjack, really looking forward to the Fate stream. So hey, welcome, Ben. I self-confessed cynic, I do agree. If the clock's ticks themselves were unknown, you would definitely you definitely need to give them an avenue to be able to figure out how close is this to completing. So Edward tipped $3. Thank you, Edward, and want to know whether we would ever run a sandbox or homebrew. I assume you mean Pathfinder 2. Let me pull you up here. Any plans in the future to stream a homebrew campaign instead of an AP? I'd like to see how you run a sandbox game, especially if you talked about your prep. Well, Edward, currently for Pathfinder 2, no. For Root, yes. My original goal with our new actual play structure was to play a different game every other week. And we were going to play Root, and I was going to we're going to build a studio out really quickly and get back in there. Yeah, it turns out when you have no experience in construction or stagecraft, building a studio takes a lot of time and work, especially when your buddy gets really busy with his family and his work and his job and is not as available as you both had hoped he would be. So that has been sort of delayed. But when we run the Root game, there is no Root adventure. The Root game is going to be entirely just sort of extemporaneous PBTA style gaming. Now, specific to Pathfinder 2, I don't know if we want to get into this today, but I've had some experience where we're wrapping up Quest for the Frozen Flame book 1. And it's a very different experience than I had hoped it would be. It is far more linear and railroady than I would prefer. I'll just put it that way. And I've come to the conclusion, now I chose, to do an adventure path for 2 reasons. Now, I'm very open about this. Not a fan of them. But I chose to do them for 2 reasons. 1, we are a small channel. And in actual plays outside of, Good Time Society or Adventure Zone or Dimension 20 or obviously Critical Role, do not do well. There are some groups out, Glass Cannon. There are plenty of groups out there who are doing it incredibly well. Hijinks is legendary for their quality of their production. And they don't, they don't get any views. D&D is tough. Pathfinder 2 is really tough. I mean, the Paizo official videos don't get any views. And we understand that part of the reason we get views and part of the reason we get interest is because, they're running some adventure path that is official. And that builds interest. That gets people interested. And I mean, if we were just doing our homebrew, I think we'd get less than, I think we'd lose like half the viewers. And I know we have more views than the official Paizo, but that's my point. That's not a really big accomplishment. That's not a difficult thing to do. And so, ultimately, why am I doing an actual play? I'm doing an actual play because I want to put eyes on the channel. I want people to see us playing, how we play, get a feel for who we are, maybe pick up some tips, some tricks, some suggestions, hopefully have a good time, hopefully be entertained. Maybe think about subscribing to the channel, maybe joining the Patreon. That's why we run these actual plays. Get some tips, support the channel. These are all the things that I want to do. Do I want to have a great time and fun with it? Of course. But I also understand that I have a business to run here. Case in point, I am going to run this root game. And it is a selfish decision made because I love PBTA. I love the idea of this game. I love the structure of it. And I'd love to see it played out over, 6 to 12 sessions in a fun kind of extended, arc, kind of like a Disney Plus series, not quite a season, but like a whole show in like 12 episodes or 10 episodes. But I understand that's not going to get any views. I get it. I understand that you and you and you might watch it, and you might be really into it. And I'm very excited about that. I hope you have a lot of fun joining us. But I understand that doing this is a dumb financial decision. It is not going to get us the views or the subs that doing Pathfinder 2 would get us. Certain, or getting D&D would get us, right? And I think one of the hardest things that we have to decide with this channel is, what do we do when we how do we make that decision between what is popular and what is fun or good? Because I'm self-critiquing myself here. Okay. For those of you who don't know my background, I used to be, I'm still a data scientist, but for many, many years, I was actually a head of a data analytics team for Progressive Insurance. And I used to tell my analysts that solid analytics is, of course, a must. But presentation might even matter more. Because if you do the best analytics that has ever been done in this company with incredible and amazing and astounding insights into how our business works, but nobody ever looks at it, or nobody bothers to pay attention, or you're just not reaching a good audience, or they don't even open it because it's a mess and the presentation is horrible, then it doesn't matter that it's so good because no one ever got to see it. The better analysis may have actually been, the person in the next cube who did a okay analysis, but they sold it and they made great presentation and they made a difference. They made an impact because you did incredible work, but no one is going to make a better decision because of it, because they just didn't listen to you or they just didn't understand what you were trying to tell them. Whereas the person next to you who did maybe a not as good analysis, but it was still okay, but they sold it and they got it and people understood it and it grokked into their head, then I think that might be arguably more effective. And so one of the problems that we have with this channel sometimes is, I want to raise the level of discussion and discourse about role-playing games in our community. I think there are powerful forces out there, people, that are trying to just, broadband what is a role-playing game because they want to be able to package it and market it and just ship it, to as many people as they can. And they want to digitize and they want to pack it and they want a microtransaction. And if Wizards of the Coast had their way, everybody would be playing and paying a monthly fee to be playing on D&D Beyond, and they wouldn't be playing any other role-playing games, and they'd have all your money. And, I am fighting that power as much as I can. Part of me hopes I hate D&D 1 or 1 D&D, because if I like it, then I'm probably part of that problem. And so I want people to see that there are games out there like Legend of the Five Rings or Root or Dungeon World. Of course I do. But at the same time, if I am just shouting into an empty room, am I really doing maximal good? I don't know. That's the problem. That's my self sort of philosophical dilemma, right? Which is, by targeting or attacking a niche group, do I lose the broader audience that I could otherwise be influencing and impacting? I don't know. But long story short, Root is very selfish. That's going to be a sandbox. For Pathfinder 2 APs, I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever see a sandbox type game for that. Maybe in a world where they do really well financially, we would be more inclined to do them. But, we have a couple of very, very generous supporters who kind of keep the Pathfinder 2 AP stream going and keep it profitable. Because I pay my players. Like you all are making tips. When I'm doing these live streams, it's fine. It's just me. But when I ask people who have wives and kids to give up their, Tuesday night and sit down for 4 hours and play this, sure, they're playing a game, but they have responsibilities and real life things. So I pay them to be there. And so, I'm losing $200. And so, it's great that we have a couple of people who are able to come out and support the stream and really help defray that cost. But if I was going to get even less viewers and even less support, that'd be a tough sell just from a bottom line perspective, just from a business perspective. Yes, the Derek utilitarianism stream. That's a great point. John. Solution: create a subsidiary of KOLC that focuses on D&D and then funnel the money back into KOLC proper for all the non-D&D good. Yes. I while drunk, Aaron and I have discussed this exactly of like not telling anybody and just making a new channel where we just run the fucking script, boys. We just get in there and we just thumbnail, title, clickbait, 5 reasons you should be playing a fighter. Just the most, we call it the serious troll, right? Where we're trolling it, but it's not some half-hearted attempt. It's like you're almost taking it more seriously than the people who do take it seriously, because you're just trying to show them how absurd it is. And if that sounds familiar, that's definitely mine and Aaron MO. And then we were like, watch as it becomes startlingly, disturbingly successful. And we were talking about, we're like, well, yeah, then we'll just take all that money and funnel it back into a Root stream. So that was something that we thought about. That's pretty funny that you brought that up. And Dan, I think, is saying the same thing. Do multiple types of advocacy, have a broad audience that listens to your main content, and then give them unexpected content now and again. Absolutely, Dan. And I think, moving forward, I think that we definitely want to try to reach a broader audience. I will be the first to admit our content is not very digestible. It's kind of impenetrable in some cases, because for many of us, a lot of people who are on these streams are people who have been joining these streams now for over a year. A lot of the people in these streams are members of our Knights of the Last Call Patreon, where we almost have a language that we use in order to discuss things. So a lot of times the concepts that we're talking about here are something that's been built upon many, many, many streams worth of prior discussion. And so for someone just to come in on a 2-hour or 3-hour stream and then be like, what are they even talking about? What is the maximal utility of your narrativist mechanic? What does that even mean? I just want to know how to build a cool monster, right? Like, I get it. Like, I can see where we could be a little bit hard to digest at times. And maybe we should work on, reaching more people. But at the same time, isn't that what No Nat's for? Isn't that what Taking 20 and Dungeon Dudes and Ginny D isn't that what they're for? They're already making that content. I'm not trying to say that they can't make this content, but they don't have the ability to discuss the things that I can. I think. And, you know, I don't think that I'm adding to the community discussion if I do a, you know, top 7 feats for Pathfinder 2. The sweetest multi-class options for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition.
Benetip $10. I have no idea what we're talking about, but I'm here for it.
Neither do I, Ben. Neither do I.
I am strong. Strong. Strong.
Yeah, I think we're talking about we're talking about the maximal utility of this channel as it relates to either the business or the stated goal, which is to increase the level of knowledge and appreciation for role-playing games in the wider RPG community. Dan, we'll see ya. Enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving. And we appreciate you, and we'll miss you. I already did that one here. Someone asked a question about investigations. Okay, long story short, here's what I don't like about investigations. I'm not saying, maybe you don't run investigations this way, and in which case, great for you. The problem with most investigations is that they are structured in such a way that 9 times out of 10, the players have to succeed. And if they don't succeed, the investigation is over because they never found out the clue. And so a lot of people say, well, that's why you need to have many clues that all point to the thing. So the net is, so the players are going to find a clue eventually. So them investigating doesn't make a difference because if they don't find anything, then the investigation's over. But you give them so many clues that they eventually do find something, then it doesn't matter whether they don't miss it or miss it because they're eventually going to find something and they're going to solve the mystery eventually. Anyways, that's problem number 1. Problem number 2. A lot of investigations rely on skill checks and have little to no player input in their decision. It's make a perception check. You find the secret compartment. Okay, but we can all agree that that's not particularly thrilling gameplay and it doesn't really require any player action. Now, that's the second. Third, some people say, well, no, we don't use that. We use description and I describe what I'm doing to my GM. Okay, fair enough. But that results in something which goes back to RPG.net a long time ago called GM pixel bitching. And pixel bitching is this idea of like old LucasArts and old Sierra games where you had to click on a very specific area on the screen in order to, you know, open the secret door. And you're like, I'm clicking on the torch, but it's not working. Oh, well, you didn't click on the exact right part of the torch. And that's what makes it open. My issue is that when you play investigations like that, what is really happening is the GM is waiting for you to say something that they like. And if you don't say something that the GM likes, then they're not going to respond in the way that you want them to. So like as a GM, I might be like, there's a secret compartment. I'll give you a great classic example. There's a desk. And in the second drawer, there is a secret false bottom of the drawer. And inside of it is the will, the secret will. And that's what the players need to know that so-and-so had a motivation to kill somebody or whatever. So a player goes over. Now, so again, there's a desk, the writing desk, second drawer, false bottom, will. A player goes over. And they say, now, and we're not playing with dice rolls. This isn't like if the player makes a DC 20 check, they discover the secret self bottom. If they roll less than DC 20, I guess get fucked. This is purely reactionary. So the players go, what's in this room? And the GM says, this is a richly appointed office, but it could be more of a lounge. There's a series of bookcases, a large stone fireplace with several paintings or portraits hung above the mantel. A rich, thick leather chair sits at a wide, broad mahogany desk, covered with a variety of ink quills, papers, and other writing implements. And a player goes, I'm going to go investigate the desk. Now, maybe your GM says, great, you investigate the desk. And while riffling through the desk and pulling at the drawers, you find that the second drawer has a secret bottom. But another GM might say, I investigate the desk. And you say, oh, the desk seems to be very well made, richly appointed, as everything else is in this room. Looks like there are several pieces of paper that had several written notes on them, mostly to house staff and and working house workers of the estate. The inkwell is partially dry, and they don't say anything because you didn't say, I investigate the second drawer. Now, there's nothing wrong with either of those ways. Now, and then the player goes, what about the drawers? And the GM goes, there are 3 drawers. And the player says, I investigate the drawers. And the GM says, yeah, each one seems to be about the same weight and size, shape and size. They each have a bronze knob. And then maybe the player says, I pull out the first one. And then the second, he goes, inside is, nothing. I don't know. He pulls out the second one. And he goes, I investigate the second drawer. And the GM might say, you pull out the second drawer. And as you look into it, you find that it has a false bottom. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe the GM is waiting for the player to say, I investigate the second drawer's bottom to see if it has a false bottom. Now, again, that's fine. But the point is, it's this kind of quantum investigation because I don't know what a thing needs to be said in order to get the GM to go, and you found the clue. And as a player, it's anybody's guess. And especially when the GM, now there might be some gods out there, Bene is in the chat, who have this level of self-control and unbiasedness to just sit there stone face when they know that the only way that the players are going to find the will is if they specifically search for false bottoms in the drawers. And if a player says, I pull out the second drawer, I riffle through its contents, it's a file cabinet, I'm just looking at stuff, but they never say, what about the bottom? Now, Ben is the type of person who'll sit there and go, you don't find anything, just more routine paperwork. And he doesn't care. We should all be like Ben. But the fact is, most people don't. They want the players to find the clue. They want the players to continue the story. They want the players, especially if you wrote it yourself, you want the players to just discover how amazing and how creative and how incredible you are at storytelling. And so most GMs are going to just basically go, you found a secret clue in the bottom of the thing. So I don't think it's a good system. I just don't think it's a good system. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who disagree with me. That's fine. That's what Knights of the Last Call is all about. It's all about disagreeing. But like it's just not for me. I don't think that is a fun game activity for me. Playing 21 questions with the GM. What does it look like if I take my torch and I look at it from a different angle? What does it look like now? If I take my torch and I look at it from this angle, what does it look like now? I don't like that. I don't like playing 21 questions with my GM. End of story. There is a good majority of people who I think at some point in time have joined KLLC just to tell me I'm stupid. So I can agree with that. I'm not going to be able to catch up with everything in chat here, but I'm sorry, there's a lot of it. I'm just reading quick here. Joe Castle. Anyone see DM's Lair's latest 5e rant? I'm actually a subscriber to DM Lair. I don't watch his stuff that often, I'll be honest with you. I've never seen him so mad about 5e, the game he built his channel on. Interesting. Just kind of catching up here. Sorry, folks. I mean, I think we can all agree that regardless of what you do for, regardless of what you do for investigation, chances are probably pretty good that the way that Pathfinder 2 does it is not the best way to do it. Flynn says, I am doing what Seth Godwin, I have a couple books by Seth Godwin, calls The Purple Cow. The fact that you are not doing what everyone else is doing will draw attention. Well, Flynn, I'm not complaining. Let me be clear about that. We have an incredible community that we have built up. For the size of my channel, which is only north of 6,000 subs, we have an incredibly large Patreon. We have a Patreon that rivals people with 20, 30, 40, 50,000 subs. So I am super, super thrilled about that. We are reaching good people. We are talking with good people, and I love it. So I'm not complaining about that at all. I just, as an analyst, as a business owner, some of you know my history, that before this channel, I had two businesses, a data consultancy company and a photography studio, both of which failed. Not all of which was my fault, but they failed. And I would really love for something that I do, I don't know, to be successful. I mean, to be clear about my photography studio, I mean, people got some great photos, I like to think. But I certainly didn't make any money. So, define success, I suppose. Finally, a chat you can join. Well, welcome, David. Welcome to have you aboard. Live reaction. I don't know what video this is, John, that I would live react to. You know what, Gid, I agree with that. KLC is a community that also has a YouTube channel. Most others are a YouTube channel that has a community. I completely agree with you, Gid, on that. We've had a number of people on this, channel. I mean, there are people in this community that I trust so much. I would let them run a video on my channel. Like, would I let Ben do a video on his own on my channel without me on it? Yeah, I would. I trust the guy that much. That is a really great point. I think that's a really good point. Another great point, when NoNat made his video the other week where he said, hey, I'm going to be cutting back on Pathfinder 2 content. It's not doing as well as it was in the past. And to be quite frank with you, I'd rather be doing video game content. That's kind of what my real passion is. And blah, blah, blah. Didn't fault him for that at all, by the way. But I will say that it's interesting because, we made this channel because we were playing D&D or Pathfinder anyways. We just happened to be doing it in my photography studio. And since my photography studio was literally surrounded with cameras and lights, we were just like, well, let's just film it anyways. It was like the afterthought. The first thought of this channel was, we're going to be playing games. We are going to be talking about games. I do this anyways. Let's just film it and put it on the channel. We're not playing games to have a YouTube channel. We just were playing games anyway. So like the channel part of it is totally like ancillary in a sense. D20 investigation do not belong in the same sentence. I'm sure Ben and I very much disagree about investigations, but in my personal experience, the standard D20 approach to investigating things is horrible. I've been told this, Frostjack, many times. It does not make me feel better. Live reaction to the DM's lair. Yeah, I know that his channel is the DM's lair. I just mean, I don't know what video specifically where he's freaking out or flipping out about 5e. I don't know if it's like a 5 or 10 minute video, maybe we can watch it. That's fine. I'll bring it up. Let me know. Someone do the research and go find out what's going on. Need to do that would be hot fire. Let's do it. We'll do it. We did the horror. We'll do the investigation. All right. I'm in. Welcome to the Ben Asaro show. Got a nice ring to it. Ben Shapiro show. Sure. Get others from the community to do 5e live streams for you so you don't have to, lol. We become a network. like Glass Cannon, we'll get different people on here and people want to play 5e. Here's the thing, right, wrong, or indifferent. There are people, I share my numbers, my math, I share my financial data with all my high level patrons. By that, I mean, people who are like $5 or $10 or higher a month. I trust people, I trust people until they screw me over enough that I no longer trust them. And then, I'm not even saying I would say no to that, is what I'm trying to say. As long as I can like vet that it's the quality and that no one's going to like get us deplatformed or embarrassed, I wouldn't even be opposed to that. I really wouldn't, actually, honestly. The only thing is the only problem is, this is the problem I have with Bob and Aaron, as I go, listen, we're starting to make money now. I will admit, we're out of debt. We've paid back everybody. We've put the money that we're going to put into the studio. We finally have paid off some of the stuff that we had to invest in. And so it's great that we're going to finally be able to make some money and pay some people. I don't want people doing stuff for me for free. I talked about how I tried to get a developer because I want to build a new system for our patron and our Discord in order to handle and track like exclusive access to merch and events. And a bunch of patrons were like mad at me. They were like, Derek, how could you say such a thing? Why wouldn't you come to us first? So many of us are developers. We could build this for you. And I said, guys, you're paying me money a month. I already feel horrible and guilty. Like if when Ben, edits our podcast or something like that, which, I said, I'm not having you spend, dozens and dozens of hours developing something. Oh, but we would do it. And I go, no, that's not how we operate. Like if you're going to do something for us, we're going to pay you. And so, the only thing is like, if somebody comes to do something for me, it's like, it's got to be formal. It's got to be a contract. It's got to be, set up. So, Standard D20 approach, pure pass, pure fail is pretty much bad for kind of. It wouldn't be so bad if it wouldn't be so bad if the game just went a lot faster. Like I wouldn't care about missing in combat if in 30 minutes you got 20 rounds of combat, but obviously that's never going to happen. So 7 minutes. It's a rant about WotC. All right. You'll talk about riffs. Nice. That was the game system that as a kid, I thought I wasn't like smart enough or cool enough to play. Knights of Last Call in show when? I don't know what you mean, Lance. Oh, yeah. Knights of Last Call in show. That's right. That's the plan. Once we get the studio in is we want to do the monthly Q&A is like a call-in format, Ben, but we want to do those like nightlife. So we want to get me and Aaron and Bob and whoever, some guests up at the studio, hanging out, like a radio show, like a talk show, and have people call in and patch through and, come onto the air and say, hey, we're taking your call, and, or have some guests on via Zoom. But I think it'll be fun. You love that idea. Make it happen. Which idea, Joe? The call in, the live show, because that is happening. That's part of what we're doing. Yeah. That's definitely that is the plan. Trademark. I mean, I've spent close to $5,000 on audio, video equipment to upgrade the studio, to get us live, to have a computer that can handle live streaming, that can take multiple inputs, that can route through it, all this other stuff. Just get it to make it happen. That's definitely, I mean, we want to do other things with it too, but that's definitely something I really want to do. Colin would be cool. Need enough time to prep questions. Yeah, I mean, Greg, I think that, we'll try to have a topic or conversation standpoint, and, people can call in. I mean, ideally, we would also have someone serving as a sort of producer role who can read the chat. And if people are tipping or asking questions specifically, we can, call in this. But if somebody wants, it's possibly that it could just be a Patreon benefit that some of our patrons or some of our YouTube members get this ability to actually call in and, ask us a question. And that's great for accountability purposes because, to Gid's point, that way if someone trolls us and makes a big boo-boo on the air, we have a way to sort of say, hey, don't do that, and or we will, we'll kick you out of the Patreon. All right, I don't know. Let's do a poll. I don't know. Do people want me to? Again, this is just a hangout, folks. I was at my my sister's house today for Thanksgiving. Came home. We're all the boys are busy with the family stuff this weekend, so nothing's going on tomorrow. And I have off from work, so just hanging out tonight, just talking. Should I react to this? Should I react to this VM? All right, polls up. By the way, dumb question. Patreon gets Discord access, but YouTube sub doesn't, right? Unless I missed it. Greg, that's correct. Although I think there's a way now that I might be able to give the YouTube sub access to the Discord. If that is possible, I would love to do that. But right now, Greg, yes, the YouTube membership is awesome. It's supporting, and there's, quite frankly, even our highest tier members in Discord don't get the access to the emoji icons. They don't get the access to the badge, loyalty badge. It's just two different systems, and they don't really talk to each other. But yes, if you want the Discord access, you do have to join the Patreons right now. So we appreciate it. But I mean, listen, if you want to cancel your YouTube membership and you want to go join the Patreon instead, I will love it. I mean, it's all good for me. I appreciate whatever support you want to give to us. So. All right. Well, all right. 75% of you are saying yes. All right. So I guess I'm going to be doing this here. Give me a minute. Okay. DM's Lair. 122K subs. Good for him. Wizards of the Coast, please fix this. Shouldn't be held accountable. Looks like this is a clip from one of his live streams. Probably great. Do 2 shots first and react. It's probably just performative. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just performative, but it is what it is. Let me get this up. Hold on one moment, please. Loading. Please wait. All right. All right. Hold on one second. I got to go to my, I might have to add my camera here. Yep. Need to add my camera. Hey, there I am. Hello, everybody. All right, well, it's not going to be pretty, so I'm just going to stick myself down here in the corner. And then let me grab this. Okay. All right. Look at all this crap. All right.
You see, we get.
All right, we're gonna get this on here. All right, here we go. So this is us reacting to this video here. Let me do this. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Okay. Shrink this down a little bit. You see all this garbage. All right. Here he is. Okay. All right. Drink every time he says 5e, you know, the angle makes me look. We'll shoot down here. You know, well, we used to do the beer of the week or whatever, but you know, when we started doing the live streams, we didn't do it as often, well, because we're not drinking from live. Also, you know, it turns out our group was a bunch of sloppy drunks, and they would get way too drunk, and then they couldn't play Pathfinder 2 because it's a hard game, and they needed to have their wits about them in order to be able to do it, and that was a problem. All right. There we go. Okay. Let me get below there. All right. All right. So this guy is a 5e GM. And I think he's been running games for a long time. Again, I've watched his channel before. It seems all right. All right, here we go.
You see, we get this question like every live stream. Every live stream, I see comments on my videos. Wizards of the Coast, will you please listen to Dungeon Masters? Like,
well, okay, already, I mean, Dungeon Masters are just a fraction of the percent of your game. So, I mean, I don't know that he's wrong, but, you know, you want to sell books to players if you want to make money. You know, big part of so when they created the OGL history lesson, when they created the OGL, the opening gaming license, you know it, it's in the back of every Paizo book. And it was created by Ryan Dancy, who came to Wizards of the Coast in about 97. And one of his big pitches was, hey, let's sell books. And TSR sold everything. It sold adventures. It sold campaign settings. It was trying to sell to dungeon masters. Adventures. They're losers. They lose us money. They do not make money. Rule books make money. So here's what we're going to do. Wizards of the Coast is going to do. We are going to create this open gaming license, and we are going to allow all these small companies who either don't care about their margins or have much tighter margins than we could have and could get away with. And we'll let them produce all the frivolous nonsense content that we don't care about. The niche campaign settings and all the adventures. We'll sell books. And we'll sell books to everyone. We are going to sell the player's handbook, and we're going to put one copy in every player at the table. We're going to sell Sword and Fist, Defenders of the Faith, Song and Silence, Masters of the Wild, Tome and Blood, and everyone is going to buy them. And that's going to be our marketing model. We're going to sell to the players, but because we understand that the game needs these tools to survive, we are going to create a license that allows other people to make these lower margin items. So that's why they don't sell the game Dungeon Masters.
Like, listen to your Dungeon Masters. We're really, really getting frustrated with your inability to help Dungeon Masters balance encounters and balance adventures because you keep on introducing power creep into characters.
I mean, that makes total sense, right? I mean, if you're going to sell to players, hey, if I create a book and I release it and if the player options in there are weaker, less exciting, less cool, that book isn't going to sell, right? You gotta constantly keep upping the ante. Now, I mean, I suppose his complaint is what? That the players are becoming more powerful. You're the GM. I don't know. Just what does that even mean? Your players are going to win anyways. Yeah, exactly. Why not just up the ante on the monsters? I agree. Self-confessed cynic. I completely agree with you. This sounds like this is complaining that the players are having fun. I mean, yes, it would be cool if they put out GM tools as well that help you make the encounters more, you know me. I've said this about Paizo as well. I want them to, I want that. I don't want more classes. There's 22 of them. Oh my God, there's so many. We don't need 22 classes, right? I want fun and different and exciting ways to play the game that I already have. And I don't want just more monsters that are just more of the same shit, but now it's like even crazier and wackier shit. It's like, oh, this is a frog person who is also a cat in another life. But I don't need that. I want interesting and creative and interesting ways. And you're like, well, yeah, but who would use that? Exactly. It's for the niche market, but your base core audience is only ever going to buy like, the APG, the CRB, the GMG, and maybe the first couple bestiaries anyways. Well, John, I think that's been true for 5e's history, but I think their last couple of releases have really soured people on some of the products, because even for them, they're just like, oh my God, there's nothing in here. They're basically, WotC is selling people Lost Omens books and they're losing their mind. Look how many bullshit Lost Omens books I bought. You advance the level and you get nothing. No new powers, no new powerful spells. We don't want power creep. But here's the thing, Mike, like that's the way D&D was for 30 years and it was fine. Like there are plenty of examples in many instances of the game where when you leveled up, you didn't get anything. You got more hit dice or more hit points. Maybe your saving throws got a little bit better. Maybe your attack bonus got a little bit better, but you didn't get something every level. I am of the mindset that getting something every level is fun and fine for some players and some component of people. Numbers go brrr, feats go brrr, right? Like, and that's great. If that's you, play Pathfinder 2. And I also agree with Ben. Players can't win an arms race with the GM anyways. Oh, they're so strong. I can't. Okay, throw a horned devil at them. See what happens now, Tony says he means it's hard to challenge players with out of the box monsters. Monsters get crushed by decent 5e players with some magic monsters. Yeah, I mean, I guess I understand that, but I mean, that's true of every RPG game system ever. I mean, I see that happen in Pathfinder 2 all the time. We have our Northern Reaches games where people are taking on 200, 250, 300 XP encounters and winning without casualties. So,
like, there's a new sorcerer coming out in Dragonlance, instantly banned. Dragonlance.
Why would you be worried about a sorcerer build coming out of Dragonlance? Now, I don't have the Dragonlance book. I don't know what age of Kryn they're setting it in, but sorcery is almost divine in Kryn, right? It comes from 3 gods, all right? Solinari, Nuitari, and Luminari. That's the middle one. Solitari is the good god of magic. Luminari is the middle neutral god of magic, and Nuitari is the black god of magic, the evil god of magic. There's 3 moons on Kryn, and depending on which moon is at full eclipse, those magic users get more powerful. So the arcane power of Kryn is set to those moons, to that divine power. In fact, after the 4th age of Kryn, when chaos came to the world and the gods, well, we thought they were dead, but it turns out Kryn had just been shunted into a different parallel dimension by Tachesis, which was kind of lame, but whatever. But when the gods left Kryn and there was no more 3 gods of magic, there was no sorcery in Kryn anymore. And that was the 5th age, the Age of Mortals, which people hated, by the way, because it changed too much of the world. But point is, it's a completely different concept for a completely different game world. Why would you ever assume that the number needs... Why would you even assume that this class is automatically an option on your table? In fact, shouldn't the default option be this is banned? We're not playing in Dragonlance. We're not playing in Kryn. And if we are playing in Kryn, okay, then sorcerers are really powerful in Kryn. Derek has become Dragonlance in depth. Listen, you don't think, see, Gid, this is where you're wrong, buddy. It's not that I don't care about world lore. I just care about world lore that's good. Anyways. So yeah, it's just, I think the default assumption should be, okay, this is a book from Dragonlance. well, we're not playing Dragonlance, so I'm probably not going to allow it. And then even if you are going to allow it, okay, so it's awesome and it's cool and it sounds like it's really powerful. What is the problem with that? I don't understand. KC, the key is to not care about balance. Just pick something cool and run with it. But most GMs, I think, are scared to kill players, and rightfully so. They've probably been taught to play D&D at the hands of Matt Mercer and all the like. All right.
It hasn't even come out yet. I read
Let me rewind it.
Characters. Like, there's a new sorcerer coming out in Dragonlance. Instantly banned. Dragonlance hasn't even come out yet. I read the release on D&D Beyond, and it is so OP, it's not even funny. I've already preemptively put it in my list of subclasses that are not allowed in my games. It is so much more powerful than any other, like, caster class. It's insane. And so...
Okay. So, again, this seems like a problem, or a solution in search of a problem. I'm banning this class from this campaign world that we're not playing in. So, yeah, I think that's really, really stupid. Somebody better call an ambulance. What's my favorite setting? What is my Rokugan from Legend of the Five Rings? Which is not D&D, but Rokugan is probably my favorite setting. My second favorite setting. It's a good question. I mean, it could be Kryn. It could be Kryn. Kryn's pretty cool. I don't have to think about that, but the first answer is Rokugan. 5e players assume anything in D&D Beyond is available, and DMs too scared to say no. Yeah. To be fair, this is a behavior that I see in some Pathfinder players where, you know, they're like, here's my build. I made it on Path Builder. It's got, I'm this archetype and that archetype and this archetype and that archetype. And in theory, as long as everything's common, it passes muster. So
this is the thing, you know, like, will Dungeon Masters get any tools, any ability to balance our game at all? Or
I don't know, throw harder fights at people, throw more monsters, throw higher level monsters. What does that mean? Balance in RPGs is something that is so strange to me anyways. Like, right, like ultimately, I'm assuming he's talking about combat. I have to assume he's talking about combat. But like, what's the number that you want? Right? When you throw a combat at your party, if you could go all, you know, Doctor Strange and look at 14.5 million different timelines where your group plays out that combat, you're going to find that there's some number of times that they win and some number of times that they lose. And, you know, probably most of the time these games are designed, it's probably really high. But it's like, what is it? I don't know, 98%. 98% of the time you win. Or it's 97% of the time you win. And when people say, like, it's not even balanced, what is it? What do you want that number to be? Like, you just want that number to be lower? You just want that number to be what, 90%, 80%, 70%? What is it that when people say that this isn't balanced, what do they mean? Do they mean that the character isn't balanced against other player characters? Now that's a different issue. But he's talking about tools for the game master. The game master has all the tools. If there's a class at the table and it's way better than everybody else's class, I agree. That's a problem. Granted, those other classes should probably just be better and more fun and cooler too, rather than just making the cool class suck. But that's not a game master problem. That's not like a tool for game masters to make my fights tougher. That's kind of that's a bullshit argument. I will agree to that. So, all right, I'll catch up here in the chat in a second, but I'm going to keep going here.
Or is Wizards only ever going to think about players?
Yes.
And how can we get players to buy more books?
Yes.
What new power and stuff can we give players to encourage them to buy the books?
This guy's been playing D&D for how long? I mean, turn around, look at my shelf. How many Splat books came out in Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition for players? 4th edition, a game I love. There's the Player's Handbook. And then there's the Player's Handbook 2. And there's the Player's Handbook 3. There's Dungeon Master Guide and Dungeon Master Guide 2. Great. Monster Manual 1, 2, and 3. Cool. Dungeon Master Guide 1, 2, Monster Manual 1, 2, and 3. There's 5 books. Players, PHP 1, PHP 2, PHP 3, Martial Power 2, Divine Power, Arcane Power, Psionic Power, Primal Power, Heroes of Shadow, Heroes of Forgotten Kingdoms, Heroes of Forgotten Land. Like, I could just go on and on and on. There's like literally, I don't know, 25, 30 books made for players. That was true in 3rd edition as well. And it was also true in 2nd edition. Does anybody remember kits? Remember complete fighter, complete wizard, complete rogue? I do. Like, or complete thief. Sorry. It was called thief back then. Yeah, it's like they've always sold to the player. They've always sold to the player. Always. Just play Fate where everything is made up and the stats don't matter. You're not wrong. I actually saw a great Reddit post about that recently. Not about Fate, but about Blades in the Dark and Powered by the Apocalypse. And I couldn't agree with it more, but it was essentially what you just said there. I've killed more player characters than the death count of Game of Thrones. Respect. I think this video is great to react to because it shows the difference between someone who GMs like KLC Discord versus people who GM like Reddit. If encounters were truly balanced in RPGs, PCs would die 50% of the time. That's true. That is what balance means. Ravenloft, Dark Sun, people are saying their favorite things. Wait, you said I read AIR and was hugely unimpressed. Looks like I'll be running L5R in March. Interesting. We'll have to talk about it later. Right, exactly. If the game, so here's an example of, well, we can talk about balanced games in a second here. What's my 25th favorite setting? My 25th favorite setting, Galarian. Create your own monsters, make decisions matter. I don't want to lose track of this though, but like about player skill, because like, if everything is unbalanced, then it's balanced. That's also true. In 2nd edition, I always balance the fights, so a high chance of someone dying, which meant a resurrection roll, which was very scary for players. It's not about losing everyone. No, I think that's fine. Yeah, Boothby, I agree. That's what I said. The only issue I have is the new sorcerer turns the rest of the party into cape holders. But again, he's talking about GM monster issues. So, yeah, I mean, the 5e CR system is garbage, but it's like, again, I don't know. I'm starting to see cracks of the Pathfinder 2 one as well. So, Mr. Cranch, one of my favorite quotes from Runehammer is that RPG balance is a false god. I mean, yeah, I think that's true. 5e has a consistency problem on a fundamental level regarding monster manual stuff. I think a newbie GM would struggle with balance, but an experienced GM, why is he running raw anyways? That's a great point. But that's the issue there, Gid. I think the issue is predictability. Can a GM predict how likely it is for players to succeed or fail? This is like an issue of like predeterminism. Right? Like, if I do the math and I have a system and it goes, the party will win this encounter 80% of the time. What does that mean? Is that trying to say that regardless of what my players do or don't do, that they'll win this fight 4 out of 5 times? And if it is 80% or 90% likely that they'll win and the party wipes, does that mean that the encounter was bad and that the math is horrible? Or does it mean that it was just that 1 in 10 times where the party lost? I think when people say balance, I think they mean a bullshit term. They don't mean balance at all. What they mean is they want a fight that is a 100% PC win rate, but will feel like they were on the verge of death. That is exactly what they mean. I think, especially in the 5th edition audience. None of these people want to kill their players, and rightfully so. I don't think a GM should ever want, as like a core motivation, to kill a player, but it's certainly not something that they ever want to have happen. They don't want their PCs to die. They don't care that the PCs are winning. What they care is that the PCs are raffle stomping everything and face rolling the encounter. but like they want the illusion that it was dangerous and deadly without it ever actually being dangerous or deadly. Because if it was dangerous or deadly, then characters might die, and they don't want that. So I think that's kind of what this core issue is.
You know, and this is super frustrating to me. Like, I want Wizards to make money. I do. Because they produce a game that lots of people love.
Sure.
But they keep on
These cat cams have got me like feeling like I need like my dog cams or something.
Prioritizing giving stuff to players and incentivizing players to buy the books. And they are like they are ignoring Dungeon Master needs. They're totally putting Dungeon Masters in the side burner, and they're not considering the fact that Dungeon Masters are frustrated and fed up with the overpowered character builds that
that statement is ludicrous to me. Northern Reaches, I'm playing 150 players. Flick maces are banned. Why? Derek thinks they're stupid. Like, sure, this guy banned the stupid sorcerer. Whatever, I don't care. But like, what is his problem? That like, I mean, listen to that statement.
Dungeon Masters are frustrated and fed up with the overpowered character builds.
Then ban it. Then, I don't know, kick that player out. Tell your players we're doing something different. I don't see how this is like a WotC responsibility issue. If you have a problem with the game, like as it's being created, I don't know, go play a different game system. Or they might think it's totally fine. For example, the Flick Mace is part of the game. If I play a Pathfinder 2 game, I probably wouldn't allow an inventor or a gunslinger because it doesn't fit my game style. Like this idea that the player, because it's in the book, because it's in D&D Beyond, that I can't stop these players. They keep showing up with all these busted character builds, and I can't do anything about it. Yeah, you can. Go big dick on them. Drop, I don't know, double Vecnas. Then laugh at them and watch as they die. Well, then they're dead. So wait, what's your problem? You can kill them at will, but you don't want to? I don't understand. I just don't understand this at all. Let's see here. I mean, I can respect the fact that he's being paid to run 5e and he's shackled to the wheel. It sounds like the Jedi definition of balance. Game assumes that you'll be running 5 to 8 encounters to drain resources from your casters. Otherwise, your wizard has 5 spells to CC more than half your monsters. But like the problem there is no game system that is ever going to force your players to run 5 to 8 encounters. Doesn't matter what it is or how it is. So, you know, I think people would love dog cams. I absolutely need a dog cam. This guy's mic compression is weird. Well, you know, Ben, they all didn't get set up by a professional audio tech like you. Yeah, there's a real, I sense that, Damien. There's a real GM versus PC attitude here. Someone needs to tell him he's playing the wrong game. Hey, good afternoon. Hey, Luke. Oh, is that his name, Luke? Did you know a GM can say no? All right, here we go.
That we do not have rules to create encounters and adventures for to keep up with this.
So his problem is he's saying that they don't have rules for making encounters that can keep up with the power balance. But you know that apparently your encounters are getting trounced by your party members. So why not just add more monsters at higher level? I mean, that seems like a very strange frustration to me. I mean, I get what they want. Again, I understand it. People want a game system. Pathfinder 2, by the way, is guilty of this too. They want a game system where you go, I want there to be player choice. I want players to be able to take whatever feats and whatever classes and whatever spell abilities and whatever magical items that they want out of the book. And I want there to be a lot of options, hundreds of options. And I want players to pick anything they want in any combination. And then I want to resolve things with a massive variability of a D20 die, where you have 20 different outcomes, creating immense amount of volatility over such a short number of dice rolls. And out of all of that, I want 100% consistency. I want to be able to put these monsters into a fight and know that my party will get exactly this scared that they were going to die and then not die, because of course I don't want them to. If I create an encounter and it doesn't, scare my players, and despite the fact that they could pick and choose anything, like, that's so silly and nonsense. Pathfinder 2, very locked in. The math, very, very tight. But as we've shown in the game, if you have good players who know what they're doing, a severe encounter, an extreme encounter is a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. You can't make up for player skill. You can't make up for player builds. I'm sorry. The character who goes, sorcerer, champion, rogue, maxed out great S tier spells is playing in the same game as the character who started with, I don't know, a investigator who went celebrity archetype. You can't balance those two concepts against one another. Pathfinder 2 tries, it brings in the outer edges because there's certain caps, and a lot of your bonuses to hit and stuff like that are limited by your core chassis, and there's not much you can do to increase them in the game. But let me tell you, those characters will perform very differently at the end of it. And there's going to be some GM out there who goes, the game told me that this was a severe encounter. I threw it at my players and they laughed. So yeah, it's kind of a bullshit concept.
And then how do you handle it when one character is super powerful and another one is playing like the ranger out of the...
Now that's a reasonable concern. That's the first thing that I've heard, like in Pathfinder 2. I mean, I know people disagree on classes, but it's like if you had someone who was playing a fighter and you had another character who's playing a thaumaturge, and you have another character who's playing like a sorcerer, and then you have another character who's playing, an oracle, or some really low-powered, heavy role-playing type character. It's like, that's more of a problem. I agree. I mean, Dave is uncomfortable because I'm talking about lore. Bringing in the outer edges is literally the best they could do, which is why I appreciate what they did, even if it's not perfect. I agree with that. I've said before, again, I appreciate Pathfinder 2 for what it did in the D20 space. And what it did in the D20 space, by the way, people don't want to admit this, it added a lot of gamist elements, kind of from 4th edition. The idea of level being tied to... Now, 4th edition is half your level, but in Pathfinder 2, it's your full level, but it fundamentally works exactly the same. This level-based progression, that monsters have this level by DC for their ACs, attacks, skills, checks, this sort of pre-calculated advanced progression for your attacks. Like, it did bring in the edges significantly, and I think they did a great job with that.
The player handbook that is way behind the power curve. Or some, you know what I mean? It's like, how do you...
I mean, I don't know. The ranger kind of sucks. Well, at least the flurry bow ranger at low levels, it sucks kind of in Pathfinder 2 as well. But I mean, I don't know. I've heard people say, oh, they've tried to fix the ranger 5 times. They keep making new rangers, versions of the ranger. It's like, okay, whatever. Rokugan was D&D technically for a while. That's true. 2nd edition. 3rd edition D&D, 2nd edition Rokugan, L5R.
So dungeon masters are frustrated. They don't have the tools they need. Wizards is ignoring their needs, and they're completely just focusing on giving players more stuff to encourage players to buy the books. And so, the question is, what methods do you use to deal with the player character power creep? Like, I just make things more challenging.
Okay, great. Salute. Yeah. Awesome. That's what you should be doing.
I choose tougher monsters. I have more there be more monsters. I give them more attacks or something.
Apparently I am a pro 5e GM because that, or sorry, DM, because that's literally what I said like 5 or 10 minutes ago.
Like, I'm literally guessing based upon my experience.
We're all guessing. Again, you can't, I don't care what, they're lying to you. If they tell you, unless the game system literally doesn't allow you to make any choices, or all the choices that you make don't matter, then yeah, your game system is going to be all over the place.
Experience as a dungeon master. I'm literally guessing when I do half of these things. And the sad thing is that he
wants his players to make choices, and then he doesn't want them to he doesn't want it to matter. My players made great choices, and they're playing fantastically well, and the encounters are just easy for them, and they keep beating them. I can't believe it. I can't take it. It doesn't matter what decisions my players make, and it doesn't matter what the dice rolls are, okay? The encounter should just work 100% of the time and create it exactly 100% of the time. Boothby and Vin, you're 100% correct. Boothby, there has always been an art to encounter design. It isn't just straight out of the box. Like, these games are far too complex. Far too complex.
Might be moderately okay at that because I'm experienced and I kind of know what I'm doing sometimes, but I screw up too. I still screw up and I still make big mistakes and stuff. But can you imagine people who are just getting into the hobby, people who are just beginning to play D&D, people who just picked up the Dungeon Master Guide and the Player Handbook?
The people who just picked up the Dungeon Master Guide and the Dungeon Master don't give a shit about this anyways. Like, that's a moot point. The only people who are upset about this are dumb, stupid neckbeards like you and me. I'm talking about Luke here.
And
good night, Sabo.
Dungeon Master. Can you imagine how frustrating it is for them when they can't balance anything because this?
What does balance mean? Balance is implying he's like balance. Here's what balance is implying. The GM's like, I threw an encounter at my party, and it was supposed to kill them all, but it didn't, and I'm very upset. Exactly, Lampley. Exactly.
CR rules are so screwed up.
Good night, Joe.
Like,
Happy
that
Thanksgiving.
pisses me off because they're a new dungeon. Listen, being a dungeon master is hard, right? Like, it's intimidating. It can be nerve-wracking. And then when you find out that everything is totally unbalanced and your tools
again, what does this mean? What does unbalanced mean?
Suck, and you can't do things because of what they've done with the power creep. Like, that turns people off potentially to the hobby, you know, and they're confused. They don't know what they're doing. And like, I've dedicated my channel and my resources that I create to helping
this is the whole like, you guys were talking about this earlier in the chat, right? Like, he's like, I've hitched my wheel to 5e, and you know, this game, it's like watching a man in a trap. Yes, that's exactly right. It's like he's trapped in a glass box. It's the shill time. It's the shill time. Absolutely. Totally. All right. That's good. That was good. That was good, Ben.
Dungeon Masters. And so when I see Wizards of the Coast totally ignoring Dungeon Master needs, it pisses me off. It really does. And I hate it. I wish they would. I want them to make money. So
he still hasn't exactly said what he wants them to do. Like, what are you trying to say? You want the monsters to get power creep too? Is that what we're really saying? Yeah, I hate how we have words like balanced, like that so many people use them and they all mean different things. So here's the thing about balance, Frostjack. Look at a sports game. All right. A sports game is fair, but it's not balanced, right? Because the one team, I don't know, they had better players. They had a better coaching staff. They drafted better. They've trained. They have a better player development program. One of those teams is much more likely to win the game than the other, but it's not 100%. So it's not unheard of to have upsets. So the game is fair. Everybody has the same shot to win. They all have the same number of players. They all get the same number of positions. They all start at 0 points. The rules apply equally to both sides, but that doesn't mean that it's fair, but that doesn't mean that it's balanced. So what does that mean? Like, I want a balanced football game. So why? Well, this team is better than this team. And that's not fair. It's like, okay, so what are you trying to say? You want the players to lose more? Okay, then use harder monsters. That's like how that works. It's a very odd concept that people have about this idea of balance.
So if you're going to keep on producing overpowered character things, at least give the dungeon masters help too. Give us a new CR system every 3 months. Every time you release a new thing, a new product that has OP character options, revamp the CR system. Give us a new CR system.
But what does the CR system even mean anyways? You want them to revamp that because what? Because one person might be playing a new class that's more powerful? That's ridiculous. Exactly. If a balanced game is play coin flip the game. Exactly. That's exactly right.
No. Do something, because there are lots of dungeon masters that are frustrated by this. Now, the veterans usually don't have a problem because the veterans know what to do. But the problem is not the veterans. Like, veteran dungeon masters will figure it out. I figure it out. Many of us figure it out. But the new dungeon masters can't. They don't have the tools. They don't have the experience. They don't have the knowledge. And so that's shooting the hobby in the foot. And it's discouraging to new dungeon masters. Listen, being a new dungeon master is already tough enough. And when you don't give them the tools and you're just making it more intimidating and more difficult, like, that's not cool.
Greg said something I was just about to say. We didn't even have tools in the old days. Agreed, Greg. Like, I'll be honest with you. I just finished GMing a 5e campaign. Now, yes, it was very heavily house ruled. I had a lot of crazy rules. It started off actually as like a old school kind of dungeon crawler because we were using 5 torches deep. But then I layered on top of it this sort of resource system that the players could use in order to tap into and go deep. I'll be honest with you. I just played 12 sessions of 5th edition D&D in a row. Some of the characters reached 5th level at the end of Caves of Chaos. Some players were only like level 3. I did not look up, having just played it, I don't even know what the 5th edition CR system looks like. I did not open that segment once. I did not look it up. I have no idea what it is. I have no idea at all. Because I didn't care. There was 10 goblins in that cave. Now, a CR system will tell you, okay, that's what this, like, would it be better if the CR system just told you the % chance of it killing your party? Like, is that what we really want? I don't know. I don't know what it is that people want from this. My point is, I didn't care because it didn't matter to me. And people are like, oh, it doesn't work. It's like, well, that's good. It just didn't matter to me. I threw those monsters at the party. If they thought that if the counter was easy or the counter was hard, they'd run away or they'd kill everybody and crush face. I think what people want is they want that illusion. They want the fight to be tough, whatever that means. But then they pull it out in the end, right? That's what people, I think, that's my take. When people say that the fight should be balanced, they mean that the party it looks like the party is going to lose, or the party feels like they have to struggle to lose, or the party loses a good chunk of their hit points, but not all of it. But then with a very high degree of certainty, they win. I really do feel like that is what most dungeon masters say or mean, or most players mean when they said that it was balanced. And Galarian Death says, % chance of killing the party. That's basically what PF2 tried to do. And I agree with Gid. They didn't write it in the book, but I can tell you that like a moderate encounter is like 99% chance of party success. Severe encounter might be like 95% chance of party success. And the book says extreme is like 50-50, but I really feel like it's more like 75% chance of party success. And potentially, I'd say those percentages could be pumped plus or minus 10, maybe 5 to 10%, maybe even 15% based off of how well your party plays the game. But, I just don't understand why, I think that it's a valid system, but I don't think that they're going to get the effect that they want out of even a better CR system, because it's not about the percent chance of the players winning or percent chance of the players losing. That's not what they're really complaining about. What they're really complaining about is they're throwing monsters at their party and the party is wiping them and killing them and beating them. And that's exactly what they want to have happen, but they want it to happen after 4 to 5 exciting rounds of combat. That's what they're really complaining about. They want the party to feel like they are, about to lose, but they're really not.
Oh, that's not cool. I don't care how much money you're making. I don't care that you represent 80% of Hasbro's profits. It doesn't matter, dude. You're not helping the people that run your games. And without Dungeon Masters, there is no D&D. There is none. It's done. It's gone. Because players don't run games. Dungeon Masters do. The question that
you just seem to indicate that players do run the games, because they said that they're the ones who are designing it.
Is, will Wizards make splats for Game Master monsters to increase their viability to keep up? Wow. I sure hope that 1D&D contains some sort of redone challenge rating system, something to help Dungeon Masters balance things. I really, really, really hope it does. I would be shocked and in awe if they don't put something in there to help Dungeon Masters and 1D&D. If it would be the world's biggest oversight if they don't do something to help Dungeon Masters balance the games with monsters and challenge rating and stuff like that. It would almost be like publishing,
again, balance the game. And he's also like, this is like an ultimatum. This is not. Yeah, it's this big grandstand, and it's this big I will be I'm totally still going to be supporting it because that's what my whole channel is based around. But it's just being like, this is my ultimatum. I will change games, but I'm not really going to. They need to fix it. It's like, I don't know, if you're not going to change the game, then maybe they don't need to fix it, because it sounds like they have you as a customer anyways.
Expansion and campaign setting without rules for ship combat.
Okay, that's different. That is horrible. 100%. You're that's a bait and switch there, right? Where you say, hey, here's Spelljammer, but we don't have rules for Spelljammer combat. And despite what people continually try to say, I love the cognitive dissonance. D&D isn't just for combat. It's about storytelling. Same person. Spelljammer was so bullshit, they didn't have rules for Spelljammer combat. Seems like you're really confused and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
If you were publishing a ship-based campaign setting out in outer space, and you didn't include rules for ship combat, right? That would be a massive oversight, and somebody should be chastised and probably fired for such an oversight. Because how could you possibly do that? Unless
what their research is telling them is that nobody cares, dude. Nobody cares. They want to make, they are the neo-trad OC character, a player type. The reason they play 5th edition is because they enjoy creating an imaginary being. It's a form of sort of transitive role playing. It's an almost transformational experience. And they like having this imaginary character in this imaginary world. And maybe the vast majority of players don't care about combat rules. They don't care about CR balances, and maybe they don't care about Spelljammer combat. Maybe for a lot of players out there, maybe for the vast majority of groups in the 5th edition space, none of that shit matters, because that's not the type of game that they're playing. Maybe they have GMs who, fudge every roll. Maybe they just sit there and they talk to each other in character. And the idea that they would ever be, and that they do get into a Spelljammer combat, the GM is going to describe to them what cool thing happens, and they'll move on to the next scene.
So along the same line, how could you possibly create a new edition, one D&D, and make no mistake, it's a new edition. How could you?
I love how every 5e content creator thinks that they're just so edgy because they go, huh, it's a new edition. I mean, they're calling it not a new edition, but it's a new edition. You're not, we get it. It's cool. You don't have to bring it up every single time.
Could you possibly create one D&D, a new edition, and not have redone challenge rating rules?
Just because he said that, I really hope they don't have redone challenge rating rules.
It will help dungeon masters with perhaps one of their single biggest frustrations with the game. Like, that would be a crazy oversight. So I don't know that they could possibly not do that. So I am a little optimistic that they're going to fix that, kind of, at least for the initial release, assuming it ever gets play tested, you know, and they balance it all out and they make it nice and packaged and it works for a few years until they keep introducing more power creep, which they will always do. It's engineered obsolescence. We're familiar with this. It does not shock us, you know.
Wow, deep insights, deep cuts. Deep cuts. This isn't just a gaming problem. This is engineered obsolescence. This is part of the big corporate, big machine.
So I'm optimistic that they're going to fix it initially. Yeah.
Click on the screen now to watch another fine DM Layer video.
Oh, I got to take notes. Look at this guy. He's advertising at the end of his video.
The DM Layer patron, play D&D with.
He's calling out the Patreon. This video was 7 minutes long. All right, I got to take notes. All right, well, so that was interesting, for sure. By the way, I didn't notice. I mean, I know I've been getting super chats, but I noticed that we have $23 a tip, so I'm going to buy a latte tomorrow. Thank you. It's probably going to be either a toasted white chocolate mocha with extra whip, or it could be the peppermint. You know, I'm not going to lie. We know we love it. Does Derek like Starbucks? Yes. It's burnt. I know, and I love it. So yeah, look, this video was good YouTube, but baseless trash. And Ben, that's what we're here for. This was an edited clip. Why even leave in the, yeah. Oh, no, Mighty Dave. The tip goal was only $7, but people generously donated 23. So I guess that means I'm going to pound 3 lattes tomorrow. But yeah, it obviously this is just, you know, kind of knee-jerk reactionary bullshit. But I also just think it points to a broader problem and a broader issue. You know, in general. Mighty, my standard rule of thumb is I always tip $1 per drink, $2 per plate, unless of course, you know, it's you know, a very expensive bill, you know, $100 or something. So this idea of balance is so interesting to me, and that this is the big concern of the game. Because again, I don't know what they mean by that. Because I'm assuming that they're throwing these encounters at their parties, and I'm assuming the parties are winning. And they are saying that they want to do what? They want their parties to lose more often? That seems like that's a trivial problem to solve in a D&D game. Now, I get it. D&D 5th edition has flat math and, you know, all that jazz. But I think the issue, like I said, is what they really are saying is they want creatures that are going to put up a fight and then die. And, you know, if that's what you want out of your game system, I could see maybe your frustrations. But I don't know that everybody feels that way. I think that is kind of a silly way to look at it. But again, I get it. I'm a weird person. And, you know, when I played 3rd edition D&D, I didn't care if the wizard, you know, the cleric let off the combat with a destruction spell or a circle of death spell or something, or a harm spell, and the monster just died. So I was like, okay, sweet, we're badass. I love it. And Trey, I agree with you. There are definitely degrees to balance. If there's an option that does infinite damage, there's no point in using any other options. In fact, it doesn't need to do infinite damage. It could just be the most effective. And, I know that a lot of people don't like to hear this, but some options in Pathfinder 2 are very good. They're very good to the point of almost being that what you just described. But his main problem seemed to be this issue. Like, for example, that would be like me complaining in Pathfinder 2 and saying, I'm throwing these moderate and severe encounters at my party, and everybody just keeps winning. And the CR system this encounter system is bullshit. Okay, okay? So your party's beating the moderates and the severe encounters. Yeah. Okay, so throw an extreme encounter at them. It sounds like your party knows what they're doing. Sounds like they've put together some pretty powerful characters. Sounds like you've maybe given them a lot of extra abilities. Maybe they just roll really hot. Either way, it sounds like the game has given you the tools to say, okay, this fight is harder because you're using more creatures or higher level creatures. Now, I don't know much about the 5th edition CR system, but I'm willing to bet that if you throw higher level creatures at the party, that raises the CR. And then, but then you throw more powerful encounter at the party. In Pathfinder 2, I go, my party is crushing all these moderates and severes, these 80 and 120 XP encounters. So I threw a 180 XP encounter at them, and they all died. What the hell? I'm like, it sounds to me like this game system is working exactly the way that you want it to. I actually feel that is 100% happen on the money. Great. It's working exactly. Even if you go back to the original inspiration, the Fellowship didn't struggle much in combat. That's kind of true. I mean, if you look at the Mines of Moria, if you look at Battle for Helm's Deep, Legolas and Gimli are having a friendly contest of who can kill more. Sure, the people around them were the threat, right? But there was never really this until the final battle at the battle of at the Moranon, at the Black Gate. You never really felt like the Fellowship was really in danger. It's just And Theo, he kept saying balance, but the subtext sounded like he's just saying that the encounters are boring. That is also a possibility. Boothby sounds like the party is supposed to beat these encounters. Yeah, I think that is what is supposed to happening. So it's a shibboleth for 5e. CR bad, no balance, grr. Get those videos, baby. Yeah, and it's now don't get me wrong. I understand that there are inherent problems with the CR system of any game. For example, Pathfinder 2. A creature of your level, of the party's level, is worth 40 experience points. Just so we're all on the same balance point. An 80 experience point encounter is moderate. A 120 XP encounter is severe. The game is a little soft on what those actually mean. A 160 XP encounter is what the game says is the highest you should ever use. That's an extreme. It says basically a 200 XP encounter is just like an auto TPK. We have had many encounters where people take those out easily. But a monster of the party's level is 40 XP. A monster that is 2 levels lower than the party is 20 XP. A monster that is 4 levels lower than the party is 10 XP. So if you're level 10 and you're fighting a level 6 monster, it is worth 10 experience points. All right. I could throw 12 of those. I could throw 16 of those at the party, and that would be 160 XP, which the game says is an extreme encounter. But if my sorcerer wins initiative and casts Chain Lightning, the chances are pretty good that they are just going to kill every single monster in the entire encounter. Does that mean that the Pathfinder 2 encounter system is bullshit? That the math is dumb and doesn't work? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that these games are really complicated and you cannot possibly prepare for every eventuality and every type of party and every subset of party and everything else. That same party was composed of, say, non-spellcasters, mostly martial characters or spellcasters who didn't have, AoE type effects, yeah, maybe that would be really tough. I mean, there's a good chance that these monsters would, miss a lot and you'd crit them a lot, but there's 16 of them. They might be able to do a lot of work and shoot them down. But my point is, you can't fault the Pathfinder 2 system for that because, the party destroyed it. It's the same thing when you throw a single monster at the party. If the party has the type of party that's built to take on single challenging monsters and they, use their aids and they use their slows and they use their flanking and they just, destroy it before it even gets off 2 attacks. Oh, the encounter system is what? Bad? I don't know. According to the encounter system, even a severe fight, the party's going to win. So, like, they won. What do you want from me? They used their abilities and that allowed them to win the game. I don't know what it is that they want out of these combats. Because whatever it is that they want out of these combats is not something that the D20 system is designed to give you. I'm sorry, it's not. The D20 combat system is just so focused on being a sort of an uncaring combat system. It just says, look, you have hit points. When they go to 0, you're out. Flint, good having you here, buddy. We'll see you later. They want chess, but this isn't chess. Well, they want, fuck the encounter system. We'll do it live. I don't know. Say hi to Dritz. I'm a big Dritz fan, or at least I used to be. So yeah, anyways, that was an interesting video, I guess. It was fun hanging out with everybody tonight. I enjoyed this. Thank you to everybody who super chatted and tipped me. That was pretty fun of you. Again, I had no real expectations for this kind of hangout. I think we got some really cool ideas. I think we're definitely going to try to do an investigation stream. I'd love to get Vin and Ben in here. That'll turn into a rampant argument, I'm sure. Again, I do think they're stupid. Not fun. We're gonna do. We have a Fate system. Looks like people are really excited about us doing a Fate stream. John's gonna join me for that one. We're gonna do some giveaways on that one, so that's gonna be really, really great. And hey, listen, this. That everyone here is the last 7 names in the chat are all green. You people are amazing. You support us. So I just want to say to everybody who is a patron, everybody who is a YouTube member, everyone who tips and supports us and chats with us. On this, our Thanksgiving Day, I say thank you to you. You allowed us to keep doing this, and you give us the hope and the push to keep doing this and doing it better and trying to raise the bar to make sure that we are giving you value and that we're making you think about RPGs in a different and better way. We're exposing you to new ideas, and that is the biggest thing that we have this channel for. So definitely very thankful to everyone who supports us. It's been a incredibly wonderful journey as we approach here, I think this weekend, on our 2-year anniversary of our first video. So thank you again for hanging out with me tonight. And we'll see you on the Discord. I'm not going to plug the Patreon. You know what it is. Sign up if you're interested. And we'll see you next time on Knights of Last Call. Peace.